Welcome to a different kind of conversation today. It's not loud, nor rushed, nor rehearsed to perfection. This is a space where we speak honestly about grief that has lived too long without words, where healing begins with truth and where silence loses its power. Some grief doesn't arrive with a funeral. There's no casseroles, no sympathy cards, no moment where the world pauses and says, I see you in what you lost. It settles quietly in the body. It's unspoken, unacknowledged. This is the kind of grief that has no ceremony and often no language. Grief is easiest to talk about when the world knows how to respond to it. When there is a funeral, a service, a meal train, shared language for the loss. But many women carry a grief that never came with public acknowledgement, understanding, or prepared words. Again, there was no ceremony, no service, no moment where the world paused to witness what was breaking inside of you. This is the grief of estrangement, the grief of betrayal, the grief of losing seasons of life to survival, the grief of loving deeply even from a distance. A mother feels this grief when birthdays arrive and pass without her voice in the room, when milestones are noticed quietly, when love continues but access does not. A woman feels this grief when another holiday and Christmas ends and the world keeps celebrating togetherness, while her heart is holding a different reality in silence. You don't stop loving the people you grieve. You stop losing yourself in the silence that tried to make the pain smaller than it was. This grief is complicated, not because love is always complicated, but because the loss does not fit the stories we've been taught to grieve. There is no official ending, no clear villain, no socially acceptable script. So instead of being witnessed, this grief often becomes internalized. It settles into the nervous system. It shows up as exhaustion, hypervigilance, a sense of being on guard even when nothing is happening. Not because a woman is weak, but because her body is holding what her life never gave her space to release. And grief lives in the body when it has no language. Your nervous system remembers what you survived. Your heart remembers what you carried. Your throat remembers the voice you were pressured to shrink. And your eyes remember the milestones you noticed quietly. Grief doesn't always get softer with time. Sometimes it just gets clearer. Clearer about what should have been protected. Clearer about what should have been spoken. Clearer about what should have never been tolerated. And that clarity can be unsettling, especially when the world expects you to have to move on. But clarity is not bitterness. It is truth rising to the surface. This kind of grief often comes with shame, not because it should, but because society struggles to hold complex truths at the same time. Truth like a mother can love her children completely and still live without a relationship. A woman can hold hope and still need distance to survive. Estrangement does not erase love, and silence does not mean absence of care. Yet many women feel pressure to either explain themselves or remain quiet to avoid judgment, so they grieve in private. And this grief does not mean you failed. It does not mean you stopped loving. It does not mean reconciliation is impossible. It does not mean your story is finished. It means something meaningful was disrupted without the dignity of acknowledgement. And when grief goes unnamed, it often becomes heavier, not because time passes, but because it has nowhere to land. Many women ask themselves questions they never say out loud. Am I allowed to grieve this? Am I allowed to miss my children while holding boundaries? Am I allowed to protect myself and still be a loving mother? These questions are not signs of confusion. They are signs of conscious love and integrity, and they deserve space, not shame. This grief also changes how women experience time. The future can feel suspended, the past can feel unresolved, and the present can feel heavy with vigilance. Not because healing is impossible, but grief that has no name often has no container. And without a container, the body keeps holding the weight. And sometimes healing does not begin with answers. It begins with honesty. with language, with naming what exists without trying to fix it. Sometimes the most faithful thing a woman can do is stop forcing herself to move on from something that was never properly witnessed. For the woman carrying the grief now, if you're a mother loving from a distance, forever their mother. If you grieve a chapter that tried to silence your voice, if your heart holds a grief the world didn't know how to name, if you've loved long enough to feel the ache of what was never spoken, you're not alone. Your grief makes sense, and God holds what the world did not know how to name. This grief deserves dignity, not dismissal, not platitudes, not pressure to reframe it into something palatable. Dignity. Because when grief is honored, it no longer has to scream through the body to be known. Thank you for staying with me for this conversation. I know it isn't easy. If you are carrying this grief that never had language, let this message continue to work in you after this video ends. And I'd like to invite you to subscribe to this channel if you're seeking healing that is wise, grounded, and rooted in faith. And if you know a woman who needs safety, clarity, and a way forward, feel free to share this with her. When you're ready to take the next step, you'll find my programs linked below. God bless and welcome. I'm Jill, your Inner Healing Coach, and you can stick with me at Inner Healing Coach all over social media.